sitting here with great friend, industry veteran, award-winning engineer extraordinaire, Shane Wilson, right?
Indeed.
And this is Shane's world here. This is one of my favorite things. Tell me about this console.
This is a Trident 80C console. Trident was and is a company out of the United Kingdom, England, and in its time, this wasn't necessarily the top-of-the-line console that you would have. It was sort of a mid-level console, which means there are a lot of Trident 80 consoles.
The 80B, right?
The 80B was the one that was around a lot, but just a very simple circuit, and still sounds cool to this day. In fact, the story, as I understand it, is the mic pre and EQ were literally copied out of a book called the IC Cookbook.
Wow.
Which was like a kind of a how-to book for working with IC chips. And so it's a really basic, the original was a really basic design. And
who knew, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez,
but,
that's so great.
Yeah, it is.
What does an engineer do? I mean, how would you explain that to someone on a plane?
I would say that an engineer is, my main goal is to facilitate the vision of the producer and the artist. The engineer should mainly be focused on making sure that as they're capturing that, there aren't any technical mistakes. There aren't.
That's great.
Not necessarily. It's not necessarily the engineer's job to say, "Oh, the guitar's out of tune," although we do that occasionally. It's more of
those careers are short for those people.
Yeah,
right? No,
they can be.
I'm kidding.
But it is more of my job, though, to make sure that the distortion that you're hearing on the guitar is from the guitar player and not from the signal path from the guitar player to the recording, or that both sides of the overhead or piano mics are working like they're supposed to be, so that the people more hands-on with the music can focus on the art and not worry about the technical side.
That's great.
Yeah.
What do you hope to achieve, just generally, when you mix something?
Yet again, my goal is to
great representation of what it should be.
And if things were done well before I got it as a mixer,
that's a good point.
I always speak kind of. It sounds kind of cheesy, but I always speak in terms of music being sort of an holistic experience, and because of that, I tend to think of music as kind of a living thing. I mean, it really can grow and change and die and get injured and
absolutely.
Bleed.
Absolutely,
but
and in some cases be resuscitated.
Exactly. Yeah. But because of kind of thinking that way, I really do feel like if you as the producer and the artist got together and made something, when I hit play, when it's in my room as I start to mix it, that music is going to talk to me and tell me what it's supposed to be. And so I kind of just feel like it's sort of my job to listen and do the things that I do per instrument and everything, but to listen to what it's saying that it wants to be and just kind of guide it down that path.
That's great. How long would you spend on a tune? I mean, I know that they're problem children.
Yeah,
and, but
I heard Richard Dodd answer this question one time, and it made me feel good for him to answer it the way he did. And if you know Richard Dodd, and you
name
do,
dropper,
yeah, let me pick that up. But Richard he's very short and to the point when he wants to be, and he once told somebody in front of me that if a song, if it's not mixed in 3 hours, there's probably something really wrong.
Yeah.
Now, he also went back and said, that's sort of the basic, the vision is there, and then anything beyond that, you're hitting play, and you're adding some sprinkles to the cupcake, or, some extra stuff.
But that 3 hours, the song's talking to you at that point, and you're going with your gut because it's telling you where to go. Hopefully.
Yeah. But generally, you'll spend more time than that, but it's that kind of concentrated, really getting your hands dirty, and then letting the garden grow for a couple hours after that, where you'll probably hit stop and take 15-minute breaks.
That's great.
Leave the room, come back,
yeah,
make some minor adjustments, but usually it's that intensive 3 hours.
Or with today's formats, you could switch to another tune.
Which I do, exactly. Go on to something else and then come back and see what needs tidying up.
How'd you break in?
Wow.
Well, condensed version made.
Yeah, it's kind of in a way that it doesn't really happen anymore. Back then, there was more of the apprentice kind of model.
Yep.
So I moved here right out of college because I needed an internship to finish my degree. I was interning at a studio. While I was at that studio, my internship was coming to an end, and one of the engineers who worked at that studio liked what I was doing as an intern. So he didn't offer me a job. He offered me a further internship with him.
Yep.
Which lasted for quite a while. But it was great because when I was in a studio, I knew that studio, multiple engineers coming through, so I got to see how different people worked.
That's great.
Wildly different styles of music,
Yep.
wildly different engineering techniques. Then when I went with that engineer, I had his thing down. I knew how he was going to want everything mic'd and everything else, but I got to see multiple studios, so that was cool. One day we were at Quad, and an assistant got fired, and the manager approached the engineer for whom I was interning to find out if I was ready for a job. So I literally got hired at my first real paying job was the same day that somebody got fired, and I just happened to be the intern working there that day.
So you never saw that guy in a dark alley? No.
I do know him, actually. It worked out fine for both of us. But. Well, I was about to say that I'm hesitant to say that.
Oh, okay.
Because,
I was kidding. But, yeah.
Pro Tools is sort of the demon in the room for a lot of people. But honestly, so much stuff comes through on Pro Tools that if my Pro Tools rig were down on any given day, I would be in a bad way in terms of having to replace that. But
sure.
It's not my favorite piece of gear. Like, I have a very love-hate relationship, probably 35% to 65%. If the console went down, I could mix in the box.
True.
If my favorite vocal compressor went down, I have lots of other options for that.
That's good.
But if that went down, I have multiple speakers that I can listen to. But if Pro Tools went down, replacing it quickly and not painfully would be hard.
That's good.
Yeah. I always love to have some form of playback around that is closer to what somebody's going to have in their house. So found this awesome boombox that has an aux input on it that I can just run right off the console and run right through it. And it's on a switch, so I can switch from the the $3,000 speakers back to the $150 boombox. But I honestly spend at least 60% of my time listening back here. It's what we're all used to hearing. So.
As do the kids, man.
The young people.
The young people.
Yes. My wife was Christmas shopping many, many years ago, and she was headed down Gallatin Road in Nashville, which back then was prone to be one area of town where you would find velvet painting stands. And out of the corner of her eye, she saw this painting, and she tore into the parking lot and jumps out of the car and asked the man why Elvis was painted like an Indian. And the man said, "Lady, you are the first person to not say, that painting kind of looks like Elvis." And it tickled him that somebody finally said, "That's Elvis, why is he painted like an Indian?" So the story goes that Elvis Presley Enterprises, the owner of Elvis Presley's legacy, was cracking down on the illegal use of his image, which in their minds included black velvet paintings, and had informed these dealers that they were breaking the law and that they were stealing from Elvis Presley Enterprises and they could no longer sell these paintings. So the dealers, in I think a brilliant move, instead of burning them, shipped them back to, I'm assuming Mexico is where they were painted, and had them touched up, which is awesome. So let me get over here.
Yeah, I love this.
Because historically, here's one that predates the crackdown. Elvis always has a microphone.
Yep, I see it.
And Elvis always has sideburns.
Yeah.
So what I love is you can totally see where there used to be a microphone and the sky was lightened and teepees were added. Where there used to be a sideburn is now a lovely headdress of a feather. And you can, when you get close enough, you can really see that this hair was just added on after, these wisps of hair were added after the fact. Now, the thing that I hope is true, that I have no documentation for being true, but I hope that the artist knew what he was doing, and this just isn't coincidence. Elvis always gave away these gold necklaces of a lightning bolt with the initials TCB for taking care of business. Yep. It was even painted on the back of his airplane, the Lisa Marie.
Yep. The ring.
It had a ring. I hope that the artist knew that and as one last act of defiance before shipping this back to America to be sold as an Indian painting instead of an Elvis painting, he added
there it is.
The lightning bolt. But
brilliant.
it is brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Producer you hate the most?
Well,
no, I'm kidding. Hey man, that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. And when everybody falls in love with you, they're gonna scream for more videos. So I'll plug you.
Please. Yeah.
All right, that's it.
Awesome.
We're out.
Woo.